Okay, you pack of backpack wearing woodland ninjas. There is some good news. We are starting to get some subscribers, paid subscribers, people donating gifts. It's starting to pick up. So the challenge coins, patches, possibly hats, possibly t-shirts, possibly sweatshirts are starting to become more of a reality and less of a dream. Keep pushing. Get some friends to listen. If they like it, great. Let them donate or do a monthly membership. If not, it just means they're insane. But keep pushing. It's helping a lot, and I appreciate everything everyone's doing. Again, for my friend in the Midwest, he's still a little under the weather. Everybody keep him in your prayers. You can use the name Sasquatch by proxy, and God will know who you're talking about. I want this episode to be about first I want to call it what you need, not what you want. Then I thought the essential field pack out for people who think the woods are friendly and really don't know the truth. So pick one of them and let's run with it. We're going to go over the gear. A lot of it we've covered already, but there are some new people. A lot of it we haven't covered yet. And I told you this is muscle memory. Do it again and again and again. This is part of it. We're not running out of things to talk about. It's just by the emails I get and the questions I get, I know some people aren't listening to everything or they have no memory retention, which is probably more the case, but I will go over this again because I told you I'm going to help you get this in your heads. Again, I do know we have covered some of this, but I guarantee you everything in here, if you've heard it before, I put it back in because I was asked questions about it again. So I am going to start to snap back when people don't listen and ask me questions about things we've already talked about. But I thought I'd give it a couple more shots, here and there. Not all the time, but here and there. So let's talk about this field, stuff you need when you go to the field. Not what you want, but what you need. And we are going to put a strong emphasis on the IFAK, the individual first aid kit. Just be aware of that. First part's going to just be generalization. The second part's going to drill down more into IFAK because I realize we really haven't done a lot of that. This is one of my fortes. As I've mentioned before, I was an EMT for well over 20 years, first responder, CPR, AED instructor. So I know what I'm talking about when I tell you what you need in the field, what you need to be carrying with you, and I'll give you a good idea what should be in your pack. And if it isn't, think about getting it. If you don't know what it is or you're intimidated by it, ask me, I'll tell you. Send me an email and I'll explain it. So we're going to go with first. The first thing we're going to talk about is a backpack, or as some as you will find out because you're not going to practice with it or even size it up before you buy it. It wouldn't be a backpack. It's just going to be your new torture device. Before you pack a single dehydrated bean, you need a pack. Most beginners choose a bag with enough MOLLE webbing on it to attach a second smaller house to it. The logic, if it looks like it survived a tactical drop into a war zone, it must be good. The reality, by mile 3, those ergonomic straps will feel like they were woven from piano wire in spite. MOLLE attachments are good. They're really good. But you don't want to come out of this looking like one of those, what do they call them, possums with all their young hanging all over them when they walk. Because that's what it looks like if you put too much crap on your back. Plus, some of that stuff is not designed to be out in open air. It should be inside your pack to begin with. Just because it has straps on it doesn't mean it needs to be on the outside of your pack. The reality of all of this is by mile 3, those ergonomic straps, like I said, really are going to start digging into you. They're going to start pinching in certain places. And when they wear when you get a sore spot from one of them straps, anything you put over it, even a properly fitting strap, is going to hurt like hell. So you need to practice this shit before you actually get out in the field with it. You really don't want to get out in the field halfway to where you're going and you're already bleeding from under your straps. The best pro tip you're going to get about this is buy a pack that fits. If you look like a turtle struggling to upright itself every time you sit down, you have not got the right pack. It's too big or it's not fitted right. I told you a while ago, my pack has an internal frame. I don't like external frames. It has an internal frame that gives it structure. It's not a huge pack. You can't fit a Jaguar or a Porsche inside of it, but you can fit what you need if you know how to pack. And if you know how to distribute weight properly, you can pack even more. But don't think you need the biggest pack in the world. You don't want a little itty bitty, what do you call them things, the messenger bags or whatever they are. You don't want something like that. You want a pack that's going to fit everything. And of course, everything we're talking about in this episode is going to be related to a 3-day pack. A get home bag. That's your bread and butter in the world of packs. A get home bag is your bread. That's the most used pack you'll have. It's the pack you'll throw in your car the most. It's the pack you're going to throw in your car if your family's going for a picnic in the woods somewhere. It's a pack you're going to throw in the car if the weather's bad and you think you could get off the road and you might have to hoof it home. The 3-day pack. The 3-day pack is your bread and butter of the survival world and the prepper world as far as I'm concerned. The cold hard truth of it is if you're going to be out there in the woods in the middle of winter and for more than 3 days, you're probably not going to make it. You're not going to carry enough gear and enough shit on you to survive freezing weather unless you've been trained like in the military or something like that. You just don't last that long in the wilderness. You could have hypothermia in the middle of summer if you're not doing things right, if it's a cold enough night and you're not prepared for it. So let's focus on a 3-day bag, get home bag, whatever we're going to call it this week. It's not really a bug out bag and it's definitely not an inch bag. A 3-day bag is 3-day bag or get home bag is my version of a bug out bag. I'm not really into bugging out. I don't believe in bugging out, so I don't really talk about bug out bags. Moving on. Next most important part of getting into the field and surviving in the field for 3 days is hydration. If you're on the coast, don't drink seawater. If you're up in the mountains, don't drink your pee. It's bullshit. You can't do that with either one of them. It's going to make things 10 times worse. Pee is actually worse than seawater. Pee is full of toxins. That's your body releasing toxins from it. You're just drinking concentrated toxins. And for anybody that tells you you look at TV or watch a YouTube video or one of these things, these specials or whatever, documentary, and you're always going to have somebody up there, when they're talking about survival, talking about, you can drink your pee. Look at them. They're batshit crazy. Look at their eyes. Look at their complexion. They look like they have jaundice and poison ivy combined. Don't drink your pee. I'm telling you right now, it doesn't work. It's not a short-term fix. It never works. Don't. All right? Remember, water is heavy. It weighs about 8.3 pounds per gallon. You need roughly a gallon per day. Do the math, and you'll realize why. Carrying all of your water is a strategy reserved for people who enjoy spinal compression injuries. You can't carry enough water for 3 days. It's just a ridiculous thought. You can get the water filters like I had mentioned before. I have one fantastic water filter. It's a pump. It's real easy to back clean. I really like it. I mean, it's not like turning on a tap, but it's a lot quicker, I think, than those freaking Sawyer straws. They're absolutely ridiculous. And what they don't tell you, I mean, they probably put it in fine print somewhere, but you don't see it on the videos, the promotional videos. If those things freeze and the filter cracks, you're basically drinking Giardia. I hope I said that right. I know what I'm talking about. I have problems with pronunciation sometimes. I'm really tired. I'm sorry. I'm back in the workforce this week. First week, it's a lot of hours, and it's taking a toll on me, so bear with me. There's iodine tablets. It's chemical warfare for your canteen. You need to know before you drink it, it's going to taste like pool water out of your swimming pool's basement. I don't know how else to explain it. It doesn't taste good, but it's better than just drinking water and hoping it doesn't have parasites or anything. Then we've got the whole boiling water in the stainless steel bottle thing that they tell you to do. That a lot of the preppers will tell you, have a single wall stainless steel bottle and put it in the fire. When you see that steam coming out full tilt, you know it's boiling and it's safe to drink. pause button right there. Okay, first of all, you got to get that son of a bitch out of the fire without needing a skin graft when you're done. All right, it's like a rite of passage to get that thing out of there without half killing yourself. Before you put it in the fire, make sure you have a way to get it out of the fire without either burning yourself, dropping it, whatever. So before you start doing that crap, either make sure you have a way to do so or don't do it. The other option is to just let the fire burn out and wait for the water to cool. And by then, you're probably going to be seeing elephants running by. You're going to be hallucinating so hard from dehydration. So, yes, boiling water in a metal bottle is a great idea, but you need to have some kind of an insulator to grab it and pull it off of the fire. You know, it's you got to think this stuff through before you do it. That's why I'm pushing everyone to either have a pump filter or a compression filter or something like that. I do not like those survival straws. It's like trying to suck a golf ball through a garden hose. You're not going to get enough water quick enough when you're really, really dehydrated. Get a pump. You don't want to get to the point where you're so dehydrated that you do stupid shit like try to grab a steel bottle out of a fire. I mean, come on, man. Get a water filter. Get the right kind of a water filter. We're going to move on to shelter. The trick here is not making yourself a burrito for a bear when you're using field shelter, because that's all you are. You know, if you just wrap yourself up, if you're crazy enough to be in a sleeping bag in an area where you could be attacked by something, inside a tent, like I said, the human burrito. I don't like tents. I like lean-tos. You can see out, if you build the lean-to right, you can definitely see out almost everything you need to see, especially if you're backed up to a stone wall or something like that. But you can look out the sides, you can look out the front. If you build a log wall in front of it to reflect heat back from a fire, you are going to be much more comfortable than you are going to be in a tent, I promise you, if you know how to make a lean-to properly. The other thing is, if you have to get up and go, like really fast, a tent is nothing more than a heavy piece of tarp that you take to the field that you need to operate a zipper that's going to snag on you at 2 a.m. when you really need to take a piss. That's what a tent is, okay? Or you need to get out of there because somebody's moving towards you or a shooting's going on. That zipper is going to snag on you again. Then you have, like I said, a tarp, and you make a lean-to. The cons for that, like I gave you the pros. The cons, the truth is, ticks, bugs, they're going to find you if you don't position it right with wind and everything, and you still might get a tick. Shit happens, but I'd still rather take my chance with a tick than becoming a bear burrito. So regardless of what your choice is, it doesn't matter if you build a perfect lean-to or if you have this incredible inflatable tent that's so easy to set up. You're going to spend the majority of the first night realizing that the so-called flat ground you picked to actually set your tent up on is really on a 45-degree incline, and a very specific rock situation is positioned exactly underneath your kidney right about the time you start to fall asleep. Sleeping in the field, it takes time to learn how to do it, how to lay your bed of pine needles down, to every aspect of it. It takes some practice, and this is something that should definitely be practiced. Because if you set up your sleeping area in a lean-to, which is my preference, obviously, and you lay down and get up right away, say, yeah, that's good, you're not realizing that your compression, when you lay on that bed of needles, even if you have a tarp over the top of them, when you lay on that bed of needles, you're going to compress those needles and compress them, and you're going to realize you did miss a couple rocks underneath it that are probably in the ground partially, like the iceberg situation. You only see the tip of it, and you're not going to be able to scrape them out. And there you're going to be 3 o'clock in the morning trying to move your sleeping position, and you're going to end up getting no sleep anyhow. So working on shelter is an art. Practice it. And you guys know how I feel about knives. Majority of preppers out there want a knife that can cut down an oak tree and perform surgery simultaneously. Most first-time preppers are going to get a 12-inch Bowie knife that weighs as much as a small sledgehammer. the majority of use of your knife in the field is going to be opening packages of beef jerky and whittling sticks. Of course, the third purpose. Oh, sorry about the third purpose is going to be accidentally cutting yourself while doing one or two. My recommendation: a small fixed blade full tang knife and a folding saw are worth 100 Rambo knives. If you have to chop a full-size tree down to survive a week, you aren't prepping. You're starting a lumber business. All you need is a decent fixed blade knife. Oh, and you can have a backup, of course. And I highly, highly recommend a folding saw. You shouldn't be cutting any branches bigger than your wrist, basically. And that's actually a really good ratio, because if you're one of those guys or girls with really skinny wrists, you're not going to have the strength to cut a bunch of trees anyhow. So try to keep the trees you cut down to the size of your wrist. The other pro to this is if you cut them that size, you're not going to be having to split wood. And if you don't know how to split wood with a field knife and you don't have a axe with you, just stick to the wood the size of your wrist and smaller. And you might need more. You might need more to keep it going all night, but it's still better than cutting your hand off because you don't know how to split wood. Then we're going to get to the fire, because that's what we're cutting wood for. And rubbing sticks together is either for a pro or pros. Nobody else can do it. Starting a fire by rubbing sticks together, I don't have the patience. I don't think you have the patience. I don't know of anyone in this world that has the patience to rub sticks together to start a fire. Partially because I'm not even sure it really works on most wood. You probably need a specific type of wood. You probably need a specific dryness of wood. Nobody teaches that in survival training. You just don't do it. So what's the next option? Everybody wants to bring a ferro rod because they saw a guy on YouTube start a fire with one in 3 seconds. In reality, you're going to spend 45 minutes scraping sparks into a pile of damp leaves while sobbing silently to yourself. That's how ferro rods work, okay? Your cheat code here for all you video game freaks is bring 3 Bic lighters. Every pack should have 3 Bic lighters. And every one of those packs should have duct tape, or every one of those lighters should have duct tape wrapped around it, about 1 foot to 2 feet of duct tape wrapped around the lighter. Reason being, you can use duct tape for anything. You can tape, trash bags together to make a tarp over your shelter. You can crumble up. You can get a small ball of duct tape, crumble up in your hand, a small piece of duct tape, and use it for a fire starter. That shit burns like crazy. It's wonderful, and it burns for a long time. Backup plan, put some pieces of flatwood in the bottom of your pack. Flatwood's going to go up there, easy to split, but it burns really well. There's a lot of people that tell you to do cotton balls soaked in petroleum jelly. Man, I don't want that shit in my pack. I don't. If it gets too hot, it's going to leak. I just don't want that shit in my pack. Remember, there are no microwave ovens in the middle of nowhere. And yes, I have seen people who actually packed Hot Pockets to go to the field thinking it would be a yummy hot snack taking only 2 minutes to prepare. People are dumbasses. If you're going to make a fire, your first use for fire is warmth, or to be seen if you need to be rescued. Your goal for setting a fire in a survival situation has nothing to do with eating. Nothing. If you're building a fire, your primary focus is either being seen or being warm. Heating food is secondary. Most of your meals should be eaten cold anyhow. Leading into sustenance. Man, for a week you'll need about 2,500 calories each day. You have 2 options. You got the MREs. I'm sorry, I digress. You have 2 options based on general prepper preferences. You have the MREs, meal ready to eat, designed to stay edible for a decade and ensure you don't use a bathroom for probably a month after you eat them for a week. Honest to God, it's going to stop you up like somebody cracked a cork up your ass. Then you have the freeze dries meal. Just add boiling water. You can just add cold water to take a little longer to hydrate, but it works. They taste like a sodium-induced fever dream and cost more than a steak dinner at a mid-range bistro. As the majority of the time, that is true. There's enough salt in those things to kill a horse. I was recently gifted some for Christmas that I happen to know that brand tastes very good. I was thrilled to death when I got them. I'm not going to name the brand because they're not sponsoring us, but I can tell you it's a very common brand. They're just about everywhere. I'm going to recommend you taste them. You buy some, like if you buy one you want to pack, buy two so you can taste one before you pack it. You also need to understand how to read ingredients. You want high carb, high fat, low sodium. Trust me, low sodium in those things is going to be more than enough sodium that your body needs. They have that much salt in them. So you got all this shit in your pack, 3-day pack. You've made it last 4 or 5 days, okay? By the end of 4 days, you're on a nature-themed camping trip. You're thinking, yeah, this will be great. But the truth of the matter is you're realizing very quickly you're really dirty. You're really hungry. And you're smelling like a campfire's laundry basket. Your essential gear is going to be covered in mud. And you'll have realized that the most important piece of equipment you took when you left the house is actually the unlock button on your car or trunk key fob. It's the truth. You're going to be ready to get out of the woods after 2 days. First day, it's still an adventure. You're going on adrenaline and hope. Second day, you start realizing this might have been a really big mistake. It's not as much fun as you think. You're bored out of your mind. You're cold at night, and food's going a lot quicker, and water's going a lot quicker than you thought it would. By the end of the third day, all you're thinking about is it's only going to take me 20 minutes to walk back to the car, or another night of hell in the field. I'm going to take the 20 minutes. So real roughing it nature camping, it takes a special kind of person. I mean, there's people that like it. But you look at these guys that do this stealth camping bullshit, they only go for one night at a time. Don't kid yourself. I don't care if they say, I've been doing this for the last 3 weeks. And they've been doing it 3 weeks off and on, maybe, an individual night here, an individual night there. They might have racked up 21 days of stealth camping, but it was over the course of a year. They're not doing this. When they're still recording with their phones after being stealth camping for a week, it doesn't make any sense. What phone battery lasts that long? So just think about it. If you want to go out and you want to practice shit, just go for one night. Think about the things I said to take, what not to take, the things to try, what not to try. Don't push the limits so hard you hurt yourself. Be careful when you buy these MREs and your freeze-dried meals. Make sure the ingredients are okay, that they're not going to mess you up. You don't want anything that's going to give you a problem in the field, especially if you're, 2 miles away from nowhere and, you're having a medical emergency. You're having a reaction of some of the food you ate. You don't have an EpiPen. It's a bad situation to be in. So think about it. All right. Now the next section is going to cover probably in my heart and in my head, the most important stuff you're going to be taking to the field. That's your IFAK. You need to pay attention. If you're going to be going on for a couple days or a week, you're going to need to pay attention to this, or just simply get sized for a toe tag right now. A well-equipped FAK is more important than your pew-pew. I hate to say it because God knows I probably have 20 pew-pews within reach at any given moment, but it does mean that I pack a well-stocked IFAK before I pack extra ammo. All right, so wrap your head around that. Again, IFAK, IFAK, you're going to see it called that. You'll hear it called that. Stands for Individual First Aid Kit. This is not a trauma kit that you're carrying for everybody in your group. Everyone in your group should have an IFAK. That's how it works. Not one person carries a med bag, because if that one person goes down, shot up, blown up, set on fire, drowned, floats out to sea, there goes all your first aid equipment. Everybody has an IFAK. In the woods, so get this in your head, in the woods, a trauma kit is not a box of Disney-themed Band-Aids and some expired aspirin. It is a collection of items designed to keep your blood inside of your body until someone with a helicopter can come and take you away. The philosophy of the oh no bag. Most people pack a first aid kit like they're preparing for a slightly aggressive paper cut. This is the truth. If you buy those first aid kits on Temu, they're mostly Band-Aids and shit you're not going to need, and half of the weight is the little first aid book that they pack in those first aid kits. The reason they do this, because a little first aid book is cheaper than buying good medical equipment. So, and the other thing that's ironic is if you ever look at some of those little first aid books, they talk about using gear that aren't even included in a first aid kit. So in a wilderness trauma scenario, you're not treating a blister. You're managing a significant mechanical failure of a human being. You need good equipment. The goal isn't comfort, it's stability. If you can't stop a leak with what you have, start to heart, or stabilize a snap, meaning a broken limb, it's probably just extra weight for your hiking partner to carry once you're immobilized. All the flashy gear, it doesn't mean shit. If you don't have compression dressings, if you don't have blood stop, if you don't have something to cover an eye that has a scratch on it, if you don't have something to irrigate a wound, if you don't, I mean, there's a lot of shit to go over here, but if you don't have the necessities, you might as well not be carrying it. And if you bought that thing off of Temu because it would look good for $10 and you never even opened it, you're going to have an oh shit in the field when something goes south and somebody gets cut or hurt, or you get cut or hurt and you're by yourself. So don't do that. Don't do this shit. Spend the money, either get a good Rhino bag or go take some classes, learn what you need to have in the field, and pack it. You know, your rules are real simple for first aid. It's start the breathing, stop the bleeding, protect the wound, and treat for shock. Okay, one more time. Start the breathing, stop the bleeding, protect the wound, and treat for shock. Your kit should be able to handle all of that. If you can't handle all four of those things, you don't have a good kit. You're not taking what you need to the field. Coffee break. Hold on. Oh my God, that's good coffee. I swear. If they sponsored me, that's all I would talk about for the whole podcast. All right, so let's we're talking about bleeding. The big red leak, bleeding control. Blood belongs in the veins and the arteries. When blood decides to exit, you have minutes, not hours. Forget the gentle pressure on the wound that you were told in 4th grade or high school health or whatever. That gentle pressure isn't going to do shit. We're talking about structural reinforcement here, not patting somebody on the arm. When you're using direct pressure, you have two hands. If it's a leg or an arm, you're gonna have one hand putting direct pressure on the wound, and you're gonna use the other hand to put pressure on the pressure point, to stop the bleeding. Somewhere where you would be taking a pulse reading from someone, femoral, arterial, brachial, pedal, wherever you take a pulse, that's where you're gonna put pressure. You're gonna find that where you're feeling that, and you're gonna use pressure there, and you're gonna hold pressure there to slow the bleeding down. And hopefully you can slow it down enough that you can eventually take your other hand off of the pressure dressing you're holding. The holy trinity of the hemorrhage situation, the tourniquet, TQ, big boy. If you buy a knockoff from a discount site, Temu again, you're gambling your life to save $20. Just get a good tourniquet and be done with it. Don't be buying the tourniquet with the scissors and the belt sheath. Kate, don't do that shit. Don't do it. Get a good tourniquet. Remember, the rule of a tourniquet is high and tight. And here's the way to know if you're putting it on right. If you put that tourniquet on right and you torque down on it to stop the bleeding, if they're not screaming in pain, you haven't done it right. They should be in excruciating pain when you crank that thing down. All right? And I'm sorry, but that's just the way it works. That's the real life situation here. It's not like in the movies where you see the guy putting it on himself and he stops turning the tourniquet to grab his gun and take a couple shots and he comes back over and starts tightening up the tourniquet. That's not how it works. That's not how a tourniquet works. Chances are you're not going to be able to put a tourniquet on yourself. Okay, so then why do you carry one on yourself? So the person that comes up on top of you has a tourniquet in case they don't have one themselves. That could save your life. Even though you can't put it on yourself, the fact that you had it could save your life. Don't ask me stupid questions like that. That's the truth of it. That's an easy one. You shouldn't have to ask that. Moving on, hemostatic gauze. This gauze is treated with chemicals like kaolin or chitosan, I think it's called. Chitosan, something. I don't know, it kind of sounds like a samurai warrior, right? Chitosan. That essentially tell your blood, stop it, stop bleeding, cut the shit out. Quick clot is the gold standard. You pack this in the wounds that a tourniquet can't really be put on, like shoulders or hips. And you pack it in. I mean, you're going to hurt them. You're going to push it in there that hard. It's like pushing sand into an open wound for the most part. Theoretically, it's not sand, but you get the idea. That's what you're doing with a quick clot. And yes, they're going to scream from that too, but be ready for it. Then there's the pressure dressing. Like I like the Israeli bandage. It's a bandage. It's a primary dressing, and it's aggressive hug all in one. I do though. I really like the Israeli bandages. I have several in my kits. Moving on, orthopedics, a snap, crackle, and pop of first aid. In the wilderness, a broken leg isn't an inconvenience. That's the snap. It's a geographical prison sentence. You need tools to turn a floppy limb back into a rigid one. You're not going to just rip out that Johnson & Johnson Band-Aid and go to town. The first thing you're going to consider, and you should have in a decent trauma kit, is a SAM splint. It's a thin sheet of aluminum covered in foam. It's light, waterproof, and can be molded into everything from a neck brace to a structural support for a shattered forearm. Then you're going to use a triangular bandage, the cravats. I love that word, cravats. That is the duct tape of the medical world. Use them as slings to tie splints, or a makeshift headband to keep sweat out of your eyes while you try to remember your wilderness first aid responder training. These things, cravats, again, at least 2 in every bag. Moving on, respiratory. You gotta have, oh man, I don't even know if I should talk about some of this. Chest seal. This is for sucking chest wounds, meaning the lungs have a hole somewhere. It's basically a high-tech sticker that prevents your chest cavity from collapsing. You think it's hard to get someone that was shot moving on their own 2 feet to get them out of a hot zone? Try doing it with a collapsed. Well, try moving a person with a collapsed lung. It ain't gonna happen, and you're just gonna die standing alongside them, shooting for cover. Try to cover them. You're both gonna die. It's bad. Sucking chest wounds are horrible. You need a good chest cavity chest seal. If you have an unconscious person, I'm going to say this wrong. I can see it in my head. I'm going to say it wrong. A nasopharyngeal airway, NPA. Keeping the airway open in an unconscious patient. This is how you keep it open. You're not going to be intubating someone in the field. It's just not going to happen. You cannot intubate someone in an environment like that. You're not going to have that kind of gear on you, and if you do, you're just fucking weird. If you have the gear on you, you need to intubate someone in the field in a 3-day bag. It's just fucking weird. But you could have an MPA on you. It's going to have the tube. It's going to be either usually green in color with, it kind of looks like a funnel on the end of it. And I'm going to say it's about 7 inches long. I don't have one in front of me. It's over in my bag, and I don't feel like getting up and getting it. And you're going to get a little packet of lube on it, like KY jelly or something. Listen, use it. It makes it so much easier. It is so hard to push an MPA into someone's nose. And yes, it will find its own way if you put it in right. But if that thing is lubed up, it's going to slip right in for you. It's going to just go real quick. And then just put a little piece of tape across the nose if they're not sweating too hard. Just covering the one end of it. Don't cover the opening, but just cover part of it. And that keeps it in place even if you're carrying them and they start to cough or throw up, which they will do. And if they do and it's coming out of the tube, you got to get the tube out of there. You got to get the tube out of their nose. Get your canteen out, run the water down the canteen, and shove that thing back in their nose again, because it's going to be clogged with puke. I can almost guarantee it. Keep that in mind. If you've never seen anybody get sick after a real serious head injury or, a head wound, we'll just say a head wound from a pew-pew or something, they're going to be throwing up probably. If you have an airway in at some point, they start to throw up, you're going to have to pull that out and check it to make sure it's not clogged if that's their only means of breathing when they're unconscious. Enough about that. Let's talk about environmental insults, which would be burns and it's too hot or too cold. The wilderness hates you. You need to accept this. The wilderness is going to hate you. The longer you're out there, the more you're going to feel the hate. It's either going to be too hot, too cold, or it's just trying to, basically the worst of it's going to be when you feel like the wilderness is trying to cook you alive. But the cold sucks too, don't get me wrong. That's what are they? The Mylar, what do they call them? Space blankets, the shiny thing. It looks like a giant baked potato wrapper. You know what I'm talking about? Truth is, it's not about being stylish. It's about reflecting 90% of your body heat back to you so you don't succumb to hypothermia while waiting for search and rescue team to find you. Yes. Unfortunately, if you bought that 4-pack for 99 cents, they're probably not even big enough to wrap all the way around you. Yes, you can use duct tape, or you can spend a little bit more and get a decent bivy that you can sit. If you're going to be sitting waiting for search and rescue, you should be able to climb into one of those bivvies, cinch it up around your neck or whatever, and you maintain body heat, because the inside of a real good bivy is Mylar heat retention device. Think about it. Spend the money, get a good one. Don't buy those $4.99 ones on Temu. Get a good bivy. You can use it for a shelter. You can use it for, like I said, to keep your body heat inside when you're waiting for search and rescue. You just use it for a sleeping bag in the cold. It's up to you, but don't get the cheap ones. Don't. They say they're hard to tear. They're not hard to tear. Trust me. We're talking about the environmental insults, burns, and temperature. That's also burns, like your hand burn or something like that. Burn dressings are hydrogel soaked pads. Honest to God, if you've tripped and fallen and slid one hand into a campfire, it's going to be the only thing you care about in this world is a steady supply of hydrogel pads. They do tend to numb the pain a little bit, and they do feel good on a burn. It's not going to get rid of the pain completely, but it's better than just the air blowing across it. Then you're going to have the everything else section of your trauma kit or your first aid kit, your trauma shears. Do not use your Rambo knife to cut away clothing. You will end up needing a trauma kit for the knife wound you just gave your patient on top of the wound they already had. Use trauma shears. Get a set of trauma shears. They're not heavy. They're aluminum. You can pack them. They're fantastic. You can cut through denim. You can cut through a leather coat. You can cut through boots without removing a toe. Get a good pair of trauma shears. Nitrile gloves. A lot of people say don't use black ones because it's hard to see blood on black gloves. You know what? If someone's going to be bleeding, I'm going to know it. I don't need to see their blood on my hands. I like the black gloves. One, because you're not like broadcasting two blue hands in the middle of a field for someone to see you. And two, I just like the black gloves. I think most of the black gloves like I have an abrasive surface on the palm and on the fingertips. It's easier to grab stuff even when they're covered in blood. The blue gloves don't have that. So just look for the glove. I think they're like in the mechanics. I think they have them in the mechanics section at stores like, well, I'm not going to say it, but the discount tools stores will say. They should have the black gloves with the aggregated covering on the fingers. Look for that. Aggregate. I think that's where aggregated. I don't know. The meds you're going to carry in the field are the high-strength ibuprofen and the histamines for that one bee. Out of all the bees in the wilderness, one bee took offense to your presence and stung you. And, of course, the anti-diarrheals, because dehydration kills. It's that simple. The thing you got to remember about this is the most important part of your first aid gear is the training, obviously. Training isn't... If you're not trained to use your gear properly, the most expensive trauma kit in the world is just a fancy lunchbox if you don't know how to use it. You get the best tourniquet on the market, but if you're trying to read the instructions while your friend is leaking blood rapidly, you've already lost the game. You're going to be putting a tourniquet on a corpse. So just understand, this is another one of those things I told you you're going to have to prepare. You're going to have to train. Sometimes you're going to have to tear open a pack, use something, and throw it away and get another one to get a really good feeling on your hands on how to use something. You should be able to use this shit in the dark. You should be able to use it in the light. You should be able to use it blindfolded. Pressure dressings, chest seals, things like that, you should be able to do blindfolded, because chances are shit's going to happen at night. You don't know. You're going to have light going? You're going to hold a light in your teeth while you're doing all this shit? No, you can do it in the dark. You just got to practice. Now, this next section, I was going to make it a different podcast, but I know this isn't going to be that long. So I'm going to go over this real quick, well, as quick as I can. This is extremely important if you're in the field, and it's going to be for an extended period of time, maybe more than your 3-day kit. Maybe this is leaning more towards a bug-out bag, but I want to cover this, and I'm probably going to cover it again. Maybe just do a separate one on basically what we're going to be doing now, but that way, if people already tuned out because it was going too long, they'll hear it. But in an extended stay in the woods, antibiotics are extremely important. Scratches can turn into lost limbs, if you know what I mean, when you get really infected. Your primary goal is prevention and environmental management. But, you're running through the woods at night or something like that, you can't be paying attention to what you're grabbing, pushing out of the way. Nature is not going to provide a Z-Pack equivalent that you can just forage for and swallow to cure systemic infection. But it does offer powerful antiseptics and antibacterial agents to manage localized issues. And this is the truth. I've been going out on my way to learn more about natural medicine. Part of it is my hippie fiance, and part of it is I want to know what to do, because there's no doctor in the field. There's no place you can go to get, what's that gel you put on, that antibiotic gel? You can't get that. So I'm going to go over some things, and just pay attention to it. It's going to make sense if you hear it. If you didn't know it before, this is the truth. All right, these are called the kitchen antibiotics. If you're camping and you got a well-stocked pantry, you probably have this shit in there already. If not, I would. I like honey. I like to have honey when I go to the field. It's good in tea. It's good on anything. Like if you have crackers, dipping crackers in it. It's an osmotic miracle is what it is. It draws moisture out of bacteria, dehydrating and killing it. It contains an enzyme that produces low levels of hydrogen peroxide even. The Egyptians were using this on injuries way back in the day. That's how long this has been around, and it works very well. All you do is slather it directly into a clean wound and cover it with a bandage. That's it. It's going to keep the wound moist for healing while killing pathogens. It's that simple. It's really that simple. Honey is great for an injury, an open cut. Now, jagged flesh wound, and if you're leaking more than you're retaining, it's too late to put the honey on. And besides that, if the blood's pushing out that hard, it's cleaning out the wound itself. But for a cut, that's not like life-threatening, the sooner you can clean it out with water, clean water, and get that honey on it, the better off you're going to be. Then you have garlic. Garlic contains something called allicin. It's a potent microbacterial. The way you use it is you got to cut a clove, like mash it up and cut it up into a paste for about 10 minutes. This is what activates the chemistry in the garlic. All the shit going to town with the air and everything else. You dilute it with a little bit of oil if you have some oil. And I'm not talking gun oil. I'm talking about if you have a well-staffed pantry, throw a little olive oil in there, a vegetable oil in there, mix it up. That prevents it from burning around the cut, because raw garlic crushed up will burn your skin if you put it on. But you put a little bit of honey in it to break it down just a little bit, and you apply it directly to the wounds for a few minutes before rinsing it. You don't want to leave it on there like honey. You want to put it on for a while and then get it off. Eating garlic, 1 to 2 raw cloves a day, can support your immune system. It won't replace an IV antibiotic, but it won't bode well on our first date in the woods either, because you're going to be smelling like it. You know what I mean. But eating garlic is wonderful for your body. There's a lot of foraged antiseptics you can do out there. I'm really not comfortable talking about a lot of it, because if you get the wrong shit, it can be just as deadly, if not more deadly, than the cut itself. So I'm going to urge you to get a book and study on it. And if you can, some community colleges and some community centers actually teach classes on nature first aid. And that's one of the first things they're going to teach you, is how to make a poultice in the wild. But let them show you, because it's hard to do this without seeing it. And again, we're going to try to be getting some video stuff going. But the truth of the matter is, I'm not going to teach you something that you might go out and try to do and do yourself more harm. It's a Hippocratic Oath. It's just the way it is. And for those of you that don't know, the Hippocratic Oath is to do no harm, or to do no further harm, or something like that. What I will tell you works, and I'm going to use a moment to say a cautious thing here. Pine sap. Pine resin is great to seal a wound and prevent fungal bacterial infections. Trees use it for that very purpose. When they leak sap from a crack or a hole in the tree, that sap that's leaking is preventing that tree from getting, some kind of a disease. It works for people too. You have to collect for lack of terms, like the sticky drops or tears or whatever you call it from a pine tree, you got to warm it slightly until it's pliable. All right. Don't warm it until when you put it on, you get a 3rd-degree burn. You warm it slightly, and you spread it over a cut like a natural liquid Band-Aid. It's inherently antibacterial and waterproof for what it's worth. Man, I wrote a bunch of this stuff down, and I'm really... Let's see if we can't save that for a video, the rest of these for the video, because I'm looking at it, and I know what I'm talking about because I've learned it and I've trained, on how to use it and stuff, and I understand how to use it, but if I wouldn't have been trained, I wouldn't feel comfortable trying to do it, so I'm not going to tell you about a lot of the other natural antibiotics yet, all right? More importantly than spending 2 days looking for certain weeds and shit to use, you need to clean the wound. You need to have clean water, not like out of a stream dumping it on your arm. If you can't drink it, you can't use it to clean a wound. You got to boil it first, let it cool, and then clean the wound with it. 90% of cleaning the wound is 90% of winning the battle. If you can get that wound really, really clean, you have a chance it's not going to get infected in the field. The unfortunate thing is, who has that kind of time to boil water, wait for it to cool, put it on there, and consistently do this, for the next 2 days, keeping it moist so it can heal. The truth is, it works if you have the time. If you're bored out of your ass just watching weeds blow by, why not? Saline is really good if you have saline. If you don't, you mix a teaspoon of salt into a liter of boiled water. Let it cool down and use it to clean the wound. It mimics your body's chemistry. It's an isotonic mixture that really does mimic your body's chemistry. And it's like firing cells, telling the cells it's time to start healing. It works very well. Another one that people don't know, or if they do hear it, they don't believe it, is charcoal. If you have a campfire, you have activated carbon, or at least sort of. Crushed charcoal from a hardwood fire can be used in a poultice to help draw out weeping infections or odors from a wound. When I say poultice, again, you have to use clean water, not dirty water. You make a paste with it and you rub it into the wound. I don't know that I would pull charred wood out of a fire that was sitting there, like you walked up and it was a campfire from someone that was there a month ago. But if it was a fresh fire and you put it out and that wood has been sitting on top, not on the ground, and you can get some of that charcoal off of there, you can make a poultice out of it that will help with a wound. Natural remedies are great for minor scrapes and cuts, but systemic infections are lethal. If you see the signs of a systemic infection, you need to do something. You need to get out of the field. You need to get help. You need to get on the radio, get airlifted. I don't care. UFO flying overhead, send it an SOS. You got to get out of the woods. You got to get treated. When you see, like if you have a wound and you see red streaking going up the limb or up the leg or up the arm towards the heart, you're going to die if you don't get out of the field. That's going to kill you, all right? If you have a cut and you see that red streak, even maybe if you don't see the red streak, just a lot of red infection around the cut, and you can feel it leaking, and you have a fever, you're probably systemic already. Or if you get that funky ass smell from the tissue where you had the cut, you have necrotic tissue. And that's advanced bacterial growth, or it could be an advanced bacterial growth. You need to get this under control really quick. If you're serious about doing this right, another way to do this is possibly, oh God, do I want to say this? There are veterinary antibiotics that you can go buy without a prescription. There's one called Fish Mox that a lot of preppers carry because you can go to the store and buy it. It supposedly has the same USP grade chemicals that people use for antibiotics, but I wouldn't use them long term, and using it is kind of a legally gray area and possibly a medical risk if you don't know what you're doing. But in a week-long survival situation, or 2 weeks or 3 week survival situation, it's more effective than a chewed up leaf poultice, okay? I would only use them if you think there's a chance that you're going to go into a systemic infection. I wouldn't just pop out the fish mocks and start chugging it or doing whatever you do with it. Make sure you got a problem on your hands before you use it. Training is more important. Well, training is every bit as important as the gear itself. Okay? So if you're going to be getting this gear, don't just put it in a pack and think now you're ready, because you are not. You are not ready. You know, you want to get a headlamp. If you don't know that, if you're working on somebody's wound, you got to have a headlamp in the dark. You can't be holding a flashlight in your mouth working a tourniquet. It just doesn't work. Trust me. You're trying to tell people to stay calm. You got a flashlight in your mouth. All they're hearing is gah, 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 gah. You know, it's ridiculous. So get a good headlamp and put it in your first aid kit. And don't take it out to play cards. Leave the good headlamp in your first aid kit so it's there when you need it. That's all I have on what you need between first aid kits and basic gear, basic kit, whatever you want to call it. I know this is a really basic overview of a lot of it, but again, these are the questions I've been asked. I'm responding to email. I'm responding to questions that I've been asked in what I would call an almost open forum, you know, being that they're sending me emails and stuff, like I told them to if they had questions. And if it was a one-on-one situation where only one person was asking questions, I would have replied in an email. But when you start getting an accumulation of the same question, it's much easier to address like this. So for some of you guys, this is old hat. You've heard it before. You're probably thinking you just wasted an hour of your life listening to this. But to new people, I guarantee you this is very important stuff. Now that we've gone over all of this, for the new guys, if you need me to drill down further on any given topic, you got to get a hold of me. All I'm hoping that this episode does is teaching you how to think and ask the right questions so you can get what you need, not so much preparing you for the apocalypse. So again, this is to get you thinking. And if you're hearing this and saying, oh, I don't have that, or should I have that, or is this what I have, is this good enough? Now you know what questions to ask. You don't have to ask the generalized questions. You can ask more specific questions, and I can get you better information. Those of you that already know all this stuff, thank you for listening to the whole thing. If you skip to the end, that's on you. It's okay. But it is good information. You guys, we still need more people to get the challenge coins. We still need more people to get the patches. And you guys got to let me know if you want shirts and hats after you look at the challenge coins, because I promise you I will come up with a piece of art either way. Don't forget, if you like the artwork that I'm using, those things can be blown up into almost poster size. They're that high a quality. I have a few of them up. I love them. They blew up very nicely. What is it? Office Max will do it for you. And there's different companies on the internet, but they always come looking like they got dragged behind a truck. That's why I just go to Office Max and do it. Or Staples. Maybe it's Staples. One of those. But if you want them, people that are paid members, they're free. I'll send them to you in a file. The ones that you're seeing on the webpage when you open up a podcast, they're not going to blow up the way you want them to, I promise. But I do have all of it saved. I'm happy to send it out. If you're not a member and you want some, you're going to have to cough up some wampum, though. I'm not going to send them to you for free if you're not a member. It's probably going to be about $2 a piece plus shipping. If you want to print it out, it's going to be the cost of the printout and the shipping. Or I can send you the file, but it's still going to cost you $2. Let me know. As always, watch your six and peace out, guys.